DeVillan Manslayer. The Man Who Hated Sunsets. A resident of Simple City bio suspense novel. Written by Oneil Wright. Read by Michelle, Davis, and Tony, AI voice narrators. This audiobook is copyrighted by Oneil Wright. 2024. All rights reserved.
In your anger do not sin, do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. Ephesians 4 verses 26 and 27. New International Version.
Prologue. Taken from Senilia. Mark McKenzie cracked his 10-year-old eyelids open, and immediately his face tightened, and his heart began to batter his chest. He was lying on his right side, in the fetal position, on a cold floor, inside a dark, musky place, completely naked. Shivering, he raised his head and looked to his left. Long, bright, blurry lines framed what seemed to be a door, with the widest horizontal vent, at the top, revealing daytime beyond, maybe nearing sunset. Mark rose clumsily on his hands and knees to his feet and struggled to remain steady. His belly growled. His throat felt dry and itchy. His breath was warm and sour. His thin body ached, as if burned. He barely touched his left side, and yet he grimaced, wincing loudly. And he gasped when he felt sticky liquid on his fingers. His heart palpitated. And his face became an overcast sky about to rain. Why was he naked and bleeding inside a dark room? He froze. Somewhere, someone was screaming and weeping and wailing, like a crazy woman on fire. The screaming and weeping and wailing grew louder, as the screamer and weeper and wailer got closer. Mark struggled to swallow. No. It wasn't someone screaming and weeping and wailing. It was a siren. Police? Firefighters? An ambulance maybe? Moments passed with him pondering and sobbing. Then he heard boots clumping on a hard surface, advancing on the dark place. He held his breath. What should he do? What should he not do? A male voice called from behind the dark wall in front of Mark.
Hey, Mark. Can you hear me? We're here to help you.
Fear held Mark's tongue hostage. And he was respiring and trembling uncontrollably. The voice called louder.
Are you okay in there, Mark? Can you make a sound?
Mark's eyes widened painfully, searching around in the darkness for an easy exit, his hands groping for support, as he meandered on spaghetti legs. The man spoke again.
Okay, Mark. Here's the deal. A nice lady and I will be coming in there to get you and take you to a safe place. We know your mom. Now all I need you to do is move away to the back of the room. And stay there. Is that okay? Can you do that for me?
Mark stumbled backward involuntarily, and almost bumped into the door which had sunset glow in its frame, and which was securely locked. He didn't trust any stranger who claimed to know his mom, or even his incarcerated dad. He jolted, as something banged loudly on board in front of him and thin lines of light shot through cracks and hit the opposite wall to his right. Another bang made brighter cracks. Another bang made a gap. Then a much larger gap, without a bang, was made by a large black boot. Then a man's head appeared in the bright, jagged space, in what he now realized was the front door of a jail cell. The jail cell at home. Mark sniffed sporadically, on the brink of tears. The crooked door swung inward, hanging on a weak hinge, as blinding light flooded the room. Crouched in a far corner, Mark gasped and raised his hands, trying to shield his eyes, his teeth bare, and his heart drumming. He wanted to disappear and never be found again. Mark lowered his lanky hands, slowly. For behind the handheld light, two silhouetted, erect, forms of a woman and a man towered in the doorway, like superheroes. Mark's eyes adjusted to see the man who, he thought, didn't look like a police officer, holding a big hammer in one hand and a short gun in the other, its muzzle pointing at the floor. The woman, who might have been his mom's age of 29, handed the man the large flashlight and sauntered toward Mark, glancing around the room. She was dressed nicely. And there was a card, with words on it, pinned to her dark blouse. She spread her hands wide before him and spoke kindly.
It's okay, Mark. Senilia knows why we are here to get you. Just try to relax. And remain where you are. Okay? Good boy.
Mark didn't know if he should attack them or cry. Because a woman was in the house jail cell with him, and she wasn't his mom. Two men in white coats and holding a gurney and a medical kit entered the room briskly. Then they began inspecting, treating and preparing him on the gurney, all in less than a minute. As the medics were about to wheel him out of the room, the woman loomed over him. And fastening her sympathetic eyes on his, she whispered,
You don't need to be afraid anymore, Mark. Everything will be all right.
Mark shuddered. Because that was exactly what his mom had said to him, before she beat him into unconsciousness, inside the dark jail cell, right there, at home.